Thank you for joining a conversation about practicing the words, works, and ways of Jesus. I'm Steve Griffin, and this is Formation Through Following. Hey friends, assuming you're still here, let's talk about end times madness. At the time of this recording, it is 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on Rapture Tuesday. Where I live, it's rainy and overcast, but so far the skies are completely clear of floating Christians. Every now and then, I'm asked, do you think we're living in the last days? I usually respond that while it's possible, it doesn't seem probable. This perennial question of the world's end has been asked for about 2,000 years now. New Testament writers believed the last days were upon them, and Christians 1,000 years later thought the same. Fast forward 900 years. End of days speculation was as rampant as ever. Think of the folks during the Great War. You see, people experiencing World War I lacked the prescience to know that it was World War I. They thought Jesus would return at any moment. And then Christians were afflicted with World War II. Surely it was about time Jesus returned. These were followed by true believers who endured multiple editions of Hal Lindsey's The Late Great Planet Earth, only to be afflicted with the Left Behind fiction. And let's not forget the end times madness of 2019. End times conspiracy theories spread like a virus. Full disclosure, I got the mark of the beast early on. In fact, I've gotten the mark of the beast booster like 4 or 5 times now. I'm just chock full of chips. If you know, you know. Speaking of being full of stuff, I've often said that Jesus hasn't come back yet because he can't figure out John Hagee's chart. Again, if you know, you know. Though the 21st century has been much more peaceful than the 20th, privileged Western evangelicals, always believing themselves to be embattled and entrenched, forecast that the second coming is coming soon because the world just can't get any worse. The world can't get any worse? Even a cursory knowledge of history and end times fiction reveals that sentence has more errors than words. The stock and trade evangelical has a doomsday view of the future. They believe there will most definitely be a World War III with countless casualties brought to a climactic end with the return of Rambo Jesus, who will slaughter millions more. And yet another cataclysm of hellish fire from heaven upon the world's armies. Bloodthirsty Jesus will consign multiple millions of people to be tortured by being burned alive forever and ever. Oh, how he loves us. I don't mean to poke fun. Well, maybe a little. You see, I was steeped in this kind of belief. It was the only hermeneutic I knew. I have actual memories of turning on the water faucet in my house if my mother was running late. I wanted to see if the water ran clear because my 8-year-old ears heard the preacher say that after the rapture, water will be turned to blood. As you can imagine, instant relief poured into the sink, and I raced outdoors to continue sinning, or playing, rather. Thankfully, I have left behind all such doom and gloom eschatology. But make no mistake, I've not left behind this theology for something new. No, I've left it behind for something old, something ancient. Switching gears. What if MLK's sentiment, the arc of the moral universe, is long, but it bends towards justice, is true? What if the moral universe's arc is longer than we think? Our finite, subjective perspective is linked to time and is often, perhaps always, myopic. Think about it. How old is the Earth? Well, it's about 4.5 billion years old. Sorry, Ken Ham. Thus, our perspective, which is rooted in our time, is infinitesimal. From our vantage point, we refer to the Lucan Acts community of the New Testament as the primitive or early church. Did you ever notice that none of the New Testament authors use these terms? They hadn't a clue that they were addressing the early church. Similarly, we speak of the Middle Ages. Again, no one living in that era knew they were living in the middle of history. So, isn't it possible, perhaps even likely, that you and I, on the backside of 2025, are part of what will come to be known as the adolescence, and then eventually the infancy of Christianity? In other words, maybe the arc of the moral universe is on the protracted side of long. What if the interminable arc is bending towards a justice that is not punitive, but rather restorative? Could it be that Jesus is undoing all that is wrong in the universe? That in the end, all will be well? I believe the future belongs to Christ, and the future looks bright for all, not for some. Maybe it's about time we begin to believe the gospel is better than we've thought. You may understand the Bible differently from me, disagree with me. That's okay. In another time, I disagreed with me. But at any rate, time will tell. Well, that's all for now. So leave a comment or question and join the conversation. Until next time, show the world a Jesus-looking God.